Hello, I'm Isaac Keith Martinez, and welcome to Isaac's Haunted Beer. Today we're going to talk about Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. When I was a kid, I saw a trailer for Maximum Overdrive, and in the trailer, Stephen King, the author of the short story Trucks that this film is based on, directed this movie and was talking directly into the camera about this film that was coming out. And in his pitch, he ends the commercial by saying, he points his finger and he gets all wide-eyed and he goes, "I'm gonna scare the hell out of you." Now in retrospect, especially if you watch that commercial now, it's really cheesy. But as a child, sold. I was so effectively excited by this man promising that he was going to scare the hell out of me. So I saw Maximum Overdrive and I was not like, the hell wasn't scared out of me, but I had a great time. And it didn't matter whether or not I was scared or not. I had a great time, and that was what was important. And years later, when I watch this film, I still have a great time. Now, in the beginning of the film, there's not a crawl, but there's a words on the screen that says that the film takes place, or at least the events of the film start to take place on June 19th. Now, a lot of movie geeks, horror film nerds, we enjoy watching movies on the date that the movie takes place on. And if you are like me, you will need to see this movie on June 19th. And that is Maximum Overdrive Day. And yes, I did watch Maximum Overdrive this year on June 19th. And what's great about movies like Maximum Overdrive is that when we think about horror films, we think about the fall. We think about October and Halloween. It's nice that there's also horror films that take place in the summer, so you don't have to wait. I mean, granted, horror fans watch movies all year round, but if you especially like watching seasonal horror films, you also have a collection of horror films to watch that take place in summer, and this is one of them. So, Maximum Overdrive is a film. I'm not going to go into great detail. I have a feeling that you've seen this movie, and I am going to touch upon some spoilers here, where inanimate objects, electronic objects especially, come to life and attack people. And most of the focus of this film are on vehicles, mostly trucks, because it takes place at the Dixie Boy truck stop. And the rigs, the Mack trucks, the semis, they are the villains of this movie. And the main, when you think of a horror film, they are attached, especially the popular ones, they're attached to icons. So Halloween has Michael Myers, Friday the 13th has Jason, Nightmare on Elm Street has Freddy Krueger. Maximum Overdrive has the Happy Toys truck. And this is a truck that is called the Happy Toys truck because this is a truck that's delivering toys, I guess, for this toy store called Happy Toys, and that's toys with a Z, like boys in the hood. And on the front of the truck is the face of the Green Goblin from The Amazing Spider-Man, and it's so effective. It's so instantly recognizable as, oh, that's a bad guy. That's not a good guy truck, that's a bad guy truck. And for me as a horror fan, because I'm not a comic book guy, when I see the Green Goblin's face, I associate his face with Maximum Overdrive before I associate it with Spider-Man. And because I'm a horror fan, because I'm a horror nerd, I do like to collect toys. And I feel a little sad that I'll never have a Maximum Overdrive toy. I'll never have a Happy Toys truck, and I realize this now that I'll never get that because that face is the legal property of Marvel. So they're never gonna go, yeah, let's make a Maximum Overdrive toy, because that's not what he is to them. But I have seen custom toys online. You can see people who've made their own and look really good. Also, on a side note, on the back of the truck, there's a painting of a crying clown, and the clown looks really like evil. In real life, nothing about this truck feels like happy. There's nothing about this truck that feels like, yay, it's the happy. He's like, oh my God, it's the terrifying hell truck that's come to, give my children nightmares. This movie is directed by Stephen King. This is the only film Stephen King's ever directed. And Stephen King always, whenever you read any sort of background about this movie, people always give him a hard time, like, oh, he's a horrible director. I hate that, because I feel like that criticism is lazy. That if you don't like this movie, then you're just gonna put the blame on Stephen King. And I don't think it's Stephen King's fault that you don't like this movie. I think that's your taste that makes you not like this movie. And that's where it should end. You shouldn't have to point a finger at Stephen King. Because I love this movie, and if I felt Stephen King did a poor job of directing it, I would say I love this movie despite Stephen King's lousy directing efforts. But actually, knowing that people specifically point out his directing as bad, I looked for it. I watch this movie and I go, okay, now what is it about what he's doing makes it worth, saying that he did a lousy job of directing it. And not only can't I not see it, there's many moments in the film where I go, no, I feel the exact opposite. I feel like he's doing a terrific job at directing this movie. And I feel like I can give you a lot of examples, but I think one of the best examples I can give you is in the beginning of the film. There's a scene where there's a lot of cars and trucks on a bridge over a river, and the bridge starts to open on its own, and all the trucks and cars start to slide down into each other, and it becomes extremely hectic and very chaotic. And Stephen King handles the direction of that scene perfectly, because there's no part of that scene that feels messy. It doesn't feel, because I feel that when you have a lot going on with a lot of people, with a lot of stuntmen and stuntwomen, a lot of cars and a lot of crashing into each other, in the hands of someone who doesn't know what they're doing, I feel like it could be a visual mess. But every cut, every decision made, you're never confused. You always understand what's going on, and everything really organically flows on how this catastrophic moment unfolds. And I feel that Stephen King accomplished this because not only is he a horror author, but he's a fan of horror, and he's watched many horror films, and I think he has a good eye of what he likes, and I think he was able, because let's face it, he's a very, very smart man, he's very creative, he was able to take what he likes and bring that over into his film and his choices of how he chose to direct his movie. Another one, off from the top of my head, there's a wonderful scene where the little boy's on the bicycle and he's riding through the neighborhood, and the camera's following him as he's coming closer, and the timing of these things happening behind him, like sprinklers going off on both sides of the lawn at the same time, just all these things, and he'd stop, he'd look, and everything would turn off. The timing of that scene is so perfect. And I feel like with a screw-up director, that wouldn't have happened. So Stephen King was nominated for a Golden Raspberry that year for Worst Director for Maximum Overdrive. That's how much people had it in for Stephen King. However, for the record, he did not win Worst Director that year. That went to Prince, who directed Under the Cherry Moon. The movie is scored by AC/DC. Now, if you look for the soundtrack for Maximum Overdrive in stores, actually, that's dating myself. I guess you can't really do that these days. If you wanted the physical copy, I guess you'd have to order it on the internet, but you wouldn't find it under the name Maximum Overdrive Original Motion Picture Soundtrack. You would find it under the title Who Made Who. So Who Made Who by AC/DC, that's the soundtrack to Maximum Overdrive. And the song Who Made Who is the theme of the film. It's the song that's played in the opening credits. You hear it a few more times in the film, and the rest of the songs that AC/DC provides are songs that are already from their catalog. They're very famous songs like You Shook Me All Night Long, and For Those About to Rock We Salute You, but yet, instead of doing, just by putting the old recordings into the movie, they re-recorded them. And I'm not sure if they did that because of a specific choice or because maybe there was some sort of like, who owns the rights to those actual original recordings. Either way, when you get the CD, it's kind of the greatest hits, but they're new recordings of old songs. And then, unfortunately, what's not on the soundtrack, but what's in the movie, is the actual musical cues. There are instrumental moments that, you know, drive scenes that really match the horror that you're seeing, but done by AC/DC with electric guitars. It's such a good job. Like when I think of other bands that have scored films like Brian May, like, you know, they did Highlander and Flash Gordon, like that music really matched that movie. And when I hear AC/DC on Maximum Overdrive, it's so well done. It makes me feel like, why haven't anyone else approached AC/DC to do their film? As a horror film, I feel like this movie very much delivers. It's really violent, and I'm not gonna like name all the scenes that I think are really, really violent, but there's rules in a horror film that most filmmakers don't cross, that Stephen King crosses. Two of them off the top of my head is you should never harm a child, and you should never harm a dog specifically. Cats are free for anyone to mess up. I've seen the cats left and right, and usually cats in movies are treated violently to comic effect, but dogs like really tug at people's heartstrings, and there's a scene where there's a remote control car stuck in a dog's mouth. I mean, granted, it's a puppet dog or whatever as a prop, but still, it's a dog, and you see it, and it makes you feel ways. And then as far as like children are concerned, there's a scene with this like baseball team, and they get attacked by the different vehicles and stuff on the baseball field after their game. And specifically, there's a steamroller that crushes like a 9-year-old boy. Like you see him like get crushed by, and you see the point of view of the steamroller like crushing him as he's screaming, and that's wonderful. That's like, oh, that's a horror movie. And this movie has a lot of great performances in it. People might criticize things for being too over the top. I love over the top. I get a kick out of over the top. Pat Hingle is in this movie, and he's got this accent that's so wonderful because everything he says, you just want to like say it along with him after he says it. Just the way he talks, he's like, shut up, bub. Just the way he talks, it's so like. And Yeardley Smith from The Simpsons is in this movie, and she's amazing because that woman's not doing a voice when she does Lisa Simpson. Like, that's her real life voice. So when you watch this movie, it's hard to separate this character from Lisa Simpson. You're just like, that's Lisa Simpson in the movie, and she's so annoying in the movie, and that adds to the comedy of her character, that it's Lisa Simpson being super annoying in this, like, you know, tragic moment. When I had watched this movie a couple months ago, or a month ago, excuse me, I had announced on Twitter that June 19th was Maximum Overdrive Day. So if you wanted to watch Maximum Overdrive and it's been a while and you want to revisit it, June 19th would be a perfect day. And I gave the reason, and a lot of people went, oh yeah, I'll check it out. And this one particular person, I don't remember who, had replied, well, I won't be able to watch Maximum Overdrive on that day, but I will celebrate it by standing on the side of the road and just yelling at the cars, "We made you!" That's the waitress in the movie. She has this meltdown at one point, and she comes out of we're at the diner, and she's all, "We made," her body language is so exaggerated. "We made you!" That's such a funny scene. It's stuff like that I think if you are a jerk and you have no part of you that knows how to have fun, you point to that and go, that's obviously ridiculous. Stephen King doesn't know what he's doing. He let this person perform that way and put it on film and put it in the movie. I like that. That's one of the many things I like about Maximum Overdrive. Thank you for hearing me rant about Maximum Overdrive. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and follow me on YouTube at Isaac's Haunted Bee. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.